morning, dear students. I am Dr. Pallavi from the KTHM College, Nasik. Today, we are going to see the subject that is decision making and risk management. In that subject, we are going to see the topic that is introduction of decision making and risk management. If we talk about the introduction of decision making and risk management, is what we are introducing or we are giving a first introduction what exactly the decision making is and what exactly the risk management is. Now, if we see the books, there are certain books which are published by the different authors and they are having a reference books. Okay. Now, through this reference books, you can have the qualitative data for your studies. Certain books which have mentioned for your studies so that you can get a better understanding for the subject. Now, if we talk about the introduction to decision making and risk management, very first thing is that take an example of your life. If in our life we are having a many things, we are having a n number of works, we are having a ups and downs in our life, we are having a so many of decisions to do the work. So whenever we are taking any short thing, that for that short thing we have to take the decision. Now, if we take a decision, and that decision will have a two sides, that can be a positive, that can be a negative. If the decision will go into a right direction, that result will be a positive. If that decision will be go into a wrong way, that time there is a certain risk which is involved in a decision, and that is the reason we are saying it is a risk, and so that we are managing that risk, and that is the reason we are saying it is the decision making and risk management. Okay. Now, if we talk about the session agenda means what? What exactly we are going to study is session. The very first thing is that we are going to study in this session is concept of decision making and risk management. Now, when we talk about the concept means what? It is a basic understanding what exactly the decision making and what exactly the risk management. The second thing we are going to study that is definition of decision making and risk management. See, there are several definitions given by the different dictionaries, different authors. So we have to understand through that definition what exactly they want us to make us understand what exactly we have to understand. Now, the next we are going to study that is problems in decision making. What are the different problems that are there whenever we are taking any kind of decision? And the next one that is problem solving techniques. What are the techniques that can be used whenever we are solving any kind of problem? Okay. Now, the next one that is introduction to decision making. You can see in this picture the robot is having a two t-shirt, that is this and that. What exactly the robot is thinking? Which t-shirt should I wear? Okay. So what is that? This is also a small decision that the human being is going to take. Okay. Whether this or that, whether this or that. So what is that? Whenever we are deciding something, so we are comparing between the two things. We are comparing between the two aspects, and through that we are taking the decision which is the better decision. Okay. Now, if we talk about the introduction to risk management. Risk management means what? Ki we are having a certain risk, we know. Okay. We have taken a decision, but in that decision, there are certain risks which has involved, and how we are going to manage that risk. Now, whenever we are managing the risk means what? We have to use strategies, right? Now we have to take a certain alternative decisions, because if the decision will have a certain strategic planning, and with the help of alternative decision, we can have the risk management in a more effective manner. Here you can see the Tom is having a planning to beat a rat. But now what happened? The another person bitten by Tom. So what is that? The Tom is using a certain strategy to minimize that risk, and he's using that technique for the risk management. Okay. Now, if we see the next, that is learning objective. What are the learning objective? Why we are learning this topic? The very first objective is to know the concept of decision making and risk management. First, we have to know what do you mean by risk decision making, and the next we have to learn What do you mean by risk management? Then the next, we are going to understand what exactly the definition of decision making and risk management. As I have already told you, there are different definitions given by the different dictionaries and authors, but we have to understand that definition, why they have mentioned this kind of definition we have whenever they have given the concept of decision making and risk management. Then the next objective is to identify the problems in decision making. Have to identify whenever the person is taking any kind of decision. That time the person has to identify whether that decision means what are the different kind of problems which are involved in that decision making. And the last one, that is to know the problem solving techniques. So we have to also know the problem, what are the different problem solving techniques which are available, so that if any problem arises or if any certain situations arises, that time which kind of decisions we have to take. Now the next, if we see about the decision making, see, you can see here the person is having a three direction. One is on a right side, one is on a left side, and one is at a straight. But now the person has to decide in which way the person has to go. So what the person is doing? Person is making a decision what exactly I have to do, in which direction I'm going to move. Okay. Now, if we talk about the definition of decision making, definition is given by the Oxford Dictionary. What they have given is the process of deciding about something important. Obviously, whenever we are going to decide something, so that can be important. For example, take an example, as you are a student, you have to decide what exactly or what kind of units we have to study, or what kind of work we have to do for our assignment. So, what is that? It is the important decisions you are taking for your work. So, what is that? It is a process that is deciding about something is more important, especially in a group of a people or in an organization. Right? Let us take an example. If you have given an assignment, okay. Now the teacher has said that assignment will be done by 10 students. So what you are going to do? You are combinedly taking a decision of a 10 student, and you are coming out with a one decision what exactly we have to do. Okay. Now this can be done in a small group of a people, or this can be done in an organization, because as you know, the organization will differ from product to product, organization and from person to person, again the size of the organization. So as according to the size, according to the person, according to the criteria of that particular organization, the decision will change. Okay. Now if we see the next, that is risk management. Risk management means what? There are certain risks which are involved in your decision. So that can be financial risk, that can be political risk, that can be social risk, or that can be individual risk. So what is that? Okay, there are certain factors which are involved in that decision, and that is the reason we can say these are the risk affecting factor. Now how this risk affecting factor we are going to manage, that is known as the risk management. If we see now the definition of risk management, what is the definition of risk management? See, in the world of finance, risk management refers to a practice of identifying potential risk in advance. Now what you are going to do? You are identifying, suppose for example, in a future period of time I am going to take any kind of decision. So that time I have to see what are the different risks which are involved, and I am identifying that risk. If I am going to take this kind of decision, what are the different risk factors which are involved for my decision. Take an example, if I am launching a particular product, okay, that is my decision or my company's decision. Now when I am going to launch my product in next month, that time which are the certain risk which was involved? That can be a political pressure, that can be that can be a environmental, that can be any kind. Means what is that? I'm not saying totally this risk is involved, but little bit of that is involved whenever you are taking of decision. So what is that? Ki whatever the risk which is involved whenever I'm planning something, that I'm going to identify that potential risk in advance and analyzing them. Analyzing means what? I'm going to analyze which are the certain risk, or we can say which are the most important risk which are which are involved whenever I'm going to do the decisions. Okay. Now, and and now after analyzing what I'm going to do, I am going to take a precautionary steps or the precautionary actions to reduce that risk. Precautionary actions I'm going to take because I can reduce my risk and I can go ahead with the more efficient result. And that is the reason it is a definition which is by the finance, that is risk management refers to a practice of identifying potential risk in advance and then analyzing it and then taking the precautionary steps that risk. Understood now? Now, if we go ahead, we see there are different problems in a decision making. Problems means what? See, in our day to day life, we are anytime we are saying that yes, this is the problem I am arising with, or anything, any a small thing, you can see ki there is a problem. For example, you are coming to the college and you are taking your bike, but for some reason the bike is not going to start. So what is that? Again, you will face it is a problem because the bike is not going to start, right? So whenever we are taking any kind of decision, what are the problems which are arises when we are taking the decision? The very first, that is level of decision making not clear. Now you have to decide what is the level, what in which level we are deciding something. Suppose if you are a student, your level of decision will be different. You are going to a corporate world, your level of decision will be different. Again, if we talk about a triangle in a corporate, or if we say there are certain levels, that is functional level, middle level, and managerial level. Okay. Now, if we talk about the functional level, if you are working at a functional level, your decision will be different. If you are working in a middle level, your decision will be different. If you are working at a top level, your decision will be different. So, as per the level of particular decision, if it is not clear, it can create a problem. Okay. The second thing is that lack of reliable data. See, in when you are working, there is a most important thing that your data and because if your data is clear, if your information is clear, obviously it's more easy to take any kind of decision in your organization. And if you're lacking behind, or if you're not clear with your data, if you're not clear with your information, obviously you are not going to survive in the market. Take a simple example of Reliance company. When the people were not having the habit of using mobile phones, but what the Reliance company has identified, have identified that it is a need of a time, or it is a need for human being that yeah, they can use the mobile data, they can have the more techno savvy, they can have the more we can say they should have the more information related to that. What they have done, they have actually given a data for a year free of cost, and then the people get habituated to that data. And now if we see the example that if your data package of 500 or 600 or 700, obviously you are going to do the charge for your phone. So what is that? When you are having a sufficient information, you are having a sufficient data, you can have a more better decision in a of time. Then the next is lack of time. Lack of time. Suppose you are not having a sufficient time. That time, yes, can be possibility that that can create a problems in your decision making. Because see, whenever we are thinking something or whenever we are deciding something, we need a time, right? So when we need a time, that time the sufficient time, which is more important. If we are not having a sufficient time, so if we are having a poor time, let us take an example. If we are having a poor time or if we are not having a sufficient time, that time हम लोग क्या करते हैं, घाई घाई में everything we are combining together. Okay, so whenever we are combining, the more possibility is more mistakes we can do, right? So what is that? If we get a sufficient time, that time we can have the proper decision making. Then the next, that is risk taking ability. Risk taking ability, yes, for a manager it is more necessary because see, if a manager is not having a risk taking capacity or the management manager is not having a risk capability, what will happen? Obviously, the team which is going to be suffer, right? So when we are having a risk taking capability, that time you can go ahead, you can take a risk, you can have a more better decision, and you can survive in a market. Take a simple example of mutual funds. You are all seeing the ad of mutual funds, right? So in that mutual fund, what is the tagline which they have given? Mutual funds are subject to market risk. Now, why they have given this tagline? Because whenever you are investing in that mutual funds, there are certain risks which are involved. If the market will go up, obviously you will profit, and if a market will go down, so you are going to get a losses. So it is a vice versa, or you can say it is a contingent situation is there whenever you are taking any kind of decision. So what is that? So whenever you will have the risk taking ability with you, that time you more confident, have the more power to take a decisions. So that is more important when any kind of decision. And if that ability is not there, obviously we can say problem when we are taking a decision. Then the next is too many options. Too many options? Yes. If we have to take any kind of decision and if we are available with too many options, obviously we are going to get confused between that. Because if too many options are there, whether it is correct or whether it is correct or whether it is correct, so what is that? We are not exactly deciding that what exactly we, because the number of options which are available with us. Let us take a simple example. Okay, if we are having a n number of clothes, so we are going to decide which kind of cloth we have to wear. So what is that? Due to a n number of option, we are not going to decide, or it is taking more time to decide what exactly we have to wear or which kind of cloth we have to wear. So what is that? It is a decision, because it is having a it is a problem in decision making because too many options are available. Okay. Now the next, that is inadequate. Inadequate support means you are not getting that much of support whatever you are needing from the organization. So what is that? So whenever you want a support from the organization, and if you are not getting that much of support, obviously your decision fail, or might be you, or will create a problem in your decision making. Let us take an example. You are working as a functional level manager. There are three levels of manager. First is functional, middle level, and top level. If at a functional level you are facing certain problem, what you are going to do? You are going to report to the middle level management. Middle level management will going to report to the top level management. But that time slab, or we can say the reporting time or the reporting gap. So in that particular gap, in that particular time, you are not getting a adequate support. That time you can say is obviously it is going to create a problem in decision making. So what is that? Support which is more important when you are working. If the support you are getting at a right time, at a right place, obviously you are going to get a good decision for your business. Then the next, that is inability to change. Many times what happen, people are thinking like, yes, we are like this only and we are not going to change. Why? Because we are working for so many years, and due to that we know what is the system, we know what is the working, know what is the technique. So all these things, they are predicting that yes, they are familiar with the things, but they do not want to change. And we can say that is a resistance of change. Why the people are doing so? Because see, the very first thing, they have the fear. If we change, obviously might be we will not familiar with the new techniques, or how will do the work in a future period of time, or might be the another person will take charge of us. So these are certain factors which are involved whenever they do not want to change. Now, if a person is going to change, what will happen? A person will, that time they will adapt a new technique, they will adapt a new working styles, adapt a overall new change in their organization. If if they are take an example, if they are resist to change, for example, a organization has introduced a machine, and through this machine, organization is saying that the machine can reduce the human efforts and machine can have a more productivity, but the people are not going to change because they are having a fear due to a machine, might be we will have the, or we can lose our job, or we will be aside due to a machine. So what is that? There are the certain factors that are involved, and due to that they are not going, they do not want to change. So because of inability to say, it is a problem in decision making. Okay, understood now? Now the next, that is lack of resources. See, the two types of resources we are having. The very first is natural resources and second one is artificial. If we talk about natural resources we are having air, water, environmental, all the we can say the environmental things which are available to us freely. Whatever the natural resources are there, it's what is freely available to us. But if we talk about artificial, what it is man-made resource. That can be a machinery, that can be a building, that can be any kind of tool, or that can be any kind of technique. So, what is that? These are the certain resources that are available whenever you are working. Take an example, if you are not getting a support of that resource or the resources which are not adequately available to you, so what will happen? Might be sometimes you cannot take the adequate, might be you will face a certain problem, might be you are cannot answer for the particular problem. So, what is that? Whenever you are taking any kind of decision and due to lack of resources, or we can say the inadequate resource, can create a problem in decision. So, understood? There are the certain things which can create problem in decision making. Now, the next we will see that is problem solving techniques. What are the different techniques? How we can solve the problem? In this picture, you can see all the things which are combined together and only the one thing which is remain. What the both person is having that key to solve that particular problem. So these are the certain techniques which we are using for solving a particular problem. If we see the problem solving techniques, the very first is research and information. What is what happened when the organizations are doing their research? The crores of rupees, or we can say the billions of rupees, spent over a research. Why it is so, or why is it? Because whenever you are having a research, that time you can have a adequate data, you can have a adequate, and through that research, you can have a better, or you can say the efficient and effective result in your organization. But if the organization does not have any, or if the organization does not have, obviously it is problem in decision making. But as we are studying a techniques of decision making, first technique that the organization have the research and information, because due to information can get any kind of data in your organization. See, let us take a very simple example. Many of us are trading in share market, right? Now, if we want to buy a share or if we want to take any decision regarding investment, so at that time, what exactly we are doing? We are we are seeing that in a period of time, what can be going to happen or what could be happen. Okay, so what is that? We are doing that with the help of information. We are doing that with the help of research. So whenever we are having a research and information, we can take a better decision, and that can be a technique for the problem solving. The next we will see that is rephrase and focus. Rephrase and focus means what? See, many times it happens that yes, suddenly whatever the decision taken by the person or whatever the activity is done by the person, that is going to collapse. Okay. Now, after collapsing that, how the person can rephrase that? How the person can focus on that particular issue? So, if the person is going to rephrase or if the person is going to focus, obviously see or the picture can be seen clearly and we can have the decision making. Take a simple example. If a person is or if a student giving an examination, let us take a competitive examination. Person or if a student is giving competitive examination and again, and if two times, three times, if a person is going to fail, so what is that? Obviously, the physical and mental level now. Okay, now, but to build that physical and mental level, we have to we have to focus on the thing. What are the things which are going in a different way? What could be the solution we can have? Focus on that particular topic. Okay, more important when or whenever of the praise and focus are more important. Now the next one, that is challenge assumption. Assumptions means what? Assumptions are assuming something in the future that can be there or that cannot be there. Again, you can say it is contingent. For example, if I'm assuming certain thing in a future period of time, this will be happen. Okay. Now I'm not sure that this is going to be happen, but it is a contingent that can be happen and that cannot be happen. Okay. So whenever I am having a assumption, that time I'm challenging that my assumption. Yes, if I'm assuming this thing in a future period of time, I'm challenging this. Yes, I'm going to. So what is that? This is a challenge I'm accepting whenever I'm assuming something. See, it is more important. As we are talking, it is just a theoretical part. But if you go to the corporate world, it's more important that whatever you are assuming, you have to challenge that. And if you're not having that much of guts to challenge that assumptions, obviously you're not going to market. So very first thing is that whenever you are assuming something, you have to make a for that assumption. Now, the next one, that is broaden and narrow the view. Now, broaden and narrow the view means many a times things happen in our life, and that time we have to which way we have to do, whether we have to broaden our or whether we have to narrow of that or narrow condition of that. What is that? We have to think. Why we have to think? We have to take the decision. And if we have to take decision, obviously have to or we have to decide whether we have to broaden that things or whether we have that a small narrow path for that particular thing. And if we are broadening that, it we are finding something in that particular. And if the decision which is not so much of important, obviously we can go for the narrow side of that decision. Now, the next one, that is change the perspective. Many a times we use the word, that is beauty lies in, or the phrase lies in the eyes of beholder. What exactly it is? Beauty lies in the eyes of beholder means what? The things which I am seeing with my eyes, but my perspective is different. So obviously, I am going to be a positive or I can be a negative. If I am seeing that, yes, it is in a positive way, obviously my perspective is going to change. And if I'm seeing, yes, that is in a negative way, obviously my perspective will change. What is that? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at, okay? So what is that? Okay, if you go into a particular direction, yes, take an example, a glass of water, and it is a half glass of water. So if I ask you, what is this? So what might be, some student will say it is the half glass of water, some student will say it is the half empty glass. Okay, so the two perspective is different. One perspective is it is a half glass of water, but another is what, it is a half empty glass. So what is that? It's positive, positive way of thinking or a positive perspective that yes, a glass is having a half glass of water. The negative perspective is what? Is a half empty glass. So understood now? If we see the change or if we see the change, if we change our perspective, obviously the different. If we are not going to change our perspective, obviously the different. Okay. Now the next one, that is frame questions, not statement. Many a times in life, what we are going to do, we are not listening something. We are not we are not focusing on that something. What we are going to do, we are giving a statement. Now, yes, this has to be done, this has not to be done. These things which should go in a to this particular direction. This is not going to happen. This is blah blah blah. So what is that? Okay, take an example. If the cricket match is there and if we do not win, so many times it happened that the people will talk about uh, batting ऐसे होना चाहिए, bowling ऐसे. What is that? They are just framing a statements, not they are framing questions. The questions can be why why the batting is not that much good or why the bowling is not that much of adequate. that much of not in an adequate manner. So what is that? Whenever we are seeing a particular picture, that time we are just giving a statement. Shall do we really finding what is the actual things behind that, or whether are we questioning ourselves that what exactly could be or what can be done? No, never. Why? Because we are a habitual of doing or we are a habit. But now, whenever you want to take a pause, frame a question, then decide what exactly we have to. Now, the next one, that is, use always a positive language. Many a times we listen that yes, we have to use positive language, we have to do this, we have to do that. Are we really doing something? Or are we really doing something? It's up to the, but not the fullest, right? So, when we are talking about a positive language, many times we listen from the others, many times we listen from the good speakers, many times we are listening through the teachers or through the to our friends. Yes, if we positive, all things positive. So, it is more easy to say stay positive, but are we really challenging that? Are we really using positive language? Use the positive language. What will happen? You will have the negative thoughts in your mind, or you will have certain times, but start using positive language. Obviously, after a period of time, you can see the changes in yourself, see the changes around you, and see the changes in an environment, that how this is going to happen. Because see, whenever you are using a positive thought, yes, I can do that, this is better for me, I can do, I'm a good sister, I'm a good brother, I'm a good human being, I can do this, I can do that, I have a positive mind, I have this. What is that? These are the positive sentences which are impacting in your body, which is impacting in your mind, and through that you can have a positive language always. Because whenever you want to solve any kind of decision, or you want to take any kind of decision, that time what you use a positive, obviously, now positive. Okay, understood now what are the different techniques whenever you are taking any kind of decision making. Now, this is the assignment for you all. The very first question is you have to explain the concept of decision making. You have to explain what is the definition by the Oxford. Then the second question is explain the concept of risk management. You have to introduce what do you mean by risk management, what exactly the risk is, how we are going to manage that risk, and what is the definition given by the finance. Okay, world of finance. Then the next, that is explain the problems decision making. You have to explain what are the different problems which are there in decision making, and uh, might be you can also explain the different things. Yes, you are feeling that yes, these are the problem, we are thinking that this can be a problem in a decision making. You can write that. Then the next, you have to mail me on this mail ID whatever the assignment you are completing. And the next one, that is the summary, what we have studied today. What exactly we have studied today? First is concept of decision making and risk management. What exactly the basic concept is. Then the next is definition of decision making and risk management. I have seen the definition given by the Oxford Dictionary about the decision making, and the world of finance given the definition of risk management that we have studied. Then the next, we have studied about problems in decision making. What are the problems which are arises when we are taking the decisions? And the last one we have seen, that is problem solving techniques. What are the different techniques through which we can solve the problem, can have the better decisions? And the next one, that is recap. What we are going to study in the next session. We are going to study in the next session, that's it, that is rational model of. Then the other model, that is Myers-Briggs model and decision making. Then the next is bounded rationality model. We are going to see. Then retrospective decision model and ODA loop model. And the last one, that is ladder of inference. We are going to see in the next session. So thank you everyone for patient listening. Have a good day.